A small detail in Reacher Season 3 makes me think I know how the Prime Video series will end. After watching Reacher Season 3, it's clear the series has more on its mind than just gritty action, military conspiracies, and bone-breaking justice. While most fans walk away remembering Jack Reacher's one-man takedowns and nomadic justice crusade, I was left thinking about something much smaller, something that barely registered on screen, but lingers in the background like a ticking clock. It's a detail easy to miss if you're just watching for the fight choreography. And yet, it may be the biggest clue to how Prime Video's Reacher series could ultimately end. That small detail? A photograph. Yes, a single photograph glimpsed in a blink and you'll miss it moment in Season 3's midpoint episode, a dusty, half-buried photo of Reacher's late brother Joe in a government file folder marked with a red stamp, case closed. And while most fans would see that and think, just backstory, I think it's something else entirely. I believe this photo and what it represents is the showrunners signaling their endgame. Let me explain. Joe Reacher, the ghost haunting the series. Joe Reacher isn't just a tragic piece of backstory. From Season 1, his death was the emotional trigger that brought Jack to Margrave, Georgia. It's what gave the first season its emotional weight. Joe, the straight-laced, by-the-book counterpoint to Jack's rogue, wandering style, was a ghost Reacher couldn't outrun. And yet, after Season 1, Joe has been treated as a closed chapter. Jack doesn't mention him often, and the show has mostly moved on from his murder. But this brief moment in Season 3, the red stamped file, the photograph, and the subtle musical shift when Jack sees it, felt deliberate. As if Reacher is quietly threading the idea that not everything about Joe's death is as resolved as it seemed. Could this photo be a breadcrumb? Reacher's unspoken evolution. One of the most fascinating elements of Reacher as a TV show is how it's been slowly building a deeper, more conflicted version of the title character without changing the surface. Reacher still seems invincible, emotionally guarded, and ruthlessly principled. But if you track the arc from Season 1 to Season 3, a pattern emerges. Reacher's relationships are getting harder to walk away from. In Season 1, he connected with Roscoe. In Season 2, he reconnected with his old unit. In Season 3, he built something resembling trust with agents Neagley and Dixon, both of whom challenged his lone wolf Mo. These aren't just supporting characters, they're pressure points. The Reacher we saw in Season 1 would have walked away without looking back. But by Season 3, he hesitates. He checks in. He looks back. The Prime Video version of Jack Reacher is evolving. Slowly, quietly, emotionally. And perhaps heading towards something he's always avoided, closure. The endgame, a man with nothing left to prove. So what does this have to do with the end of the series? I believe Reacher will end when Jack stops running, or rather, when he realizes he was never running at all. That dusty photo of Joe isn't just a memory or a callback. It's a reminder that the one person Reacher couldn't protect still defines him. And that's the key. To end this series meaningfully, the showrunners have to give Reacher something he hasn't had: peace. Not victory. Not justice. But peace. And I think that's where Joe comes in. The final case. Reacher investigates Joe's past. Here's how I imagine the series will end, not with Jack taking down another corrupt military industrialist, but with him returning to the one mystery that truly matters: his brother. What if the final season, whether it's Season 5, 6, or beyond, centers on the idea that Joe Reacher's death wasn't what it seemed? That the case we saw in Season 1 only scratched the surface? That Joe was involved in a deeper, more dangerous conspiracy within the intelligence community, one that Joe was trying to protect Jack from? It makes emotional sense. It makes narrative sense. And it completes the circle. Imagine Reacher retracing Joe's footsteps. Not for vengeance. Not because someone asked. But because he needs to know the truth. That would be the most personal case of all. And perhaps the one time Reacher wouldn't just be passing through a town, but staying long enough to find answers. The Roscoe factor. But this isn't just about Joe. There's another small, lingering thread that ties into this idea: Roscoe. Yes, fans, myself included, have long speculated whether Roscoe will return after Season 1. She's mentioned occasionally, but has never reappeared. The show seems to be saving her. And if Reacher ever confronts the truth about Joe, he might also have to confront his future. That's where Roscoe could return, not just as a love interest, but as a symbol of the life Reacher could have had, or maybe still can have. Ending the series by bringing Reacher full circle, back to Margrave, back to Roscoe, back to Joe, would be poetic. It would also finally answer the question the show keeps quietly raising. Can Jack Reacher ever stop running? The fight before the peace. Let's be honest, Reacher can't end quietly. This is a show built on physical justice and relentless tension. So if the final season really is about Joe's death and the buried truth behind it, there has to be a final enemy. Someone powerful enough to have killed Joe, covered it up, and still be pulling strings. Perhaps an old general. Perhaps an agency director. Someone who represents the corrupt system Joe tried to fight from within, and Jack rejected entirely. This would pit Reacher against the deepest parts of the institution that made him. It would be the most dangerous battle of his life. And the most personal. It would also give Prime Video a way to go out with a bang, while giving Reacher something far rarer, resolution. The symbolism of the file. Let's return to that file. In storytelling, especially visual storytelling, objects are never just objects. A photograph isn't just a photo. A red stamp isn't just paperwork. It's a symbol. The red case closed stamp felt too intentional, too prominently placed in that shot. It's as if the show is telling us, this is the official story. But is it true? And Reacher, the man who always digs deeper, who never accepts appearances, would never let that be the final word. Not for his brother. Reacher's legacy. Why does this all matter? Because Reacher isn't just about justice. It's about a man trying to live without attachments and failing. Every case, every connection, every friend who calls him Jack instead of Reacher chips away at the myth. And what's left underneath the myth is a man who once had a brother, who once had a home, and who maybe, just maybe, wants to belong again. Ending the series with Reacher choosing to stop, not because he's lost, but because he's finally found something worth staying for, would be the most radical twist of all. It wouldn't betray the books. It would honor them. Because Lee Child's stories are full of themes about identity, family, and loyalty. What better way to conclude the Prime Video series than by giving Jack Reacher the one thing he never had? Not a house. Not a badge. Not a relationship. But peace. Final thoughts. The end is already written. Television shows don't just end when the ratings drop. The good ones, the truly great ones, lay down breadcrumbs long before the finale ever airs. That photo of Joe in Season 3? That wasn't a random prop. That was a breadcrumb. Reacher isn't just about how many bones Jack can break in one episode. It's about how many emotional walls he can keep standing. And eventually, something or someone will break through. Joe Reacher might be long gone. But his story isn't. And neither is Jack's. And when the Prime Video series finally ends, I believe it won't be in a hail of bullets. It'll be in a quiet moment. Jack Reacher looking at a photo, reading a file, and finally walking away, not from trouble, but toward peace. Because even the most unbreakable man deserves to rest. And even a ghost like Joe deserves justice. Reacher isn't just about how many bones Jack can break in one episode. It's about how many emotional,